Assalamualaikum and very good morning or evening. So today we are going to learn about Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra, our first Prime Minister. For the learning outcomes, at the end of lecture, students should be able to describe Tunku Abdul Rahman background, Tunku Abdul Rahman's personalities, the challenges during his premiership, economic, education, and foreign policy during his premiership, and his contribution in Islamic affairs. So basically, for the background of Tunku Abdul Rahman, he was born in Alusta, Kedah in February 8, 1903. He was the seventh of Sultan Abdul Halim's sons, but the youngest son from his Shan Thai blood mother, Sheikh Manjelara. So basically, he was well known as our father of independence because he is the one who memperjuangkan our independence lah. Unfortunately, he has died on 6 December 1990 at the age of 87 years old. So previously, he received his early education in an English school, which is nowadays known as College Sultan Abdul Hamid. He was sent to study with his elder brother in the Sirin Tawat, Bangkok, when he was 10 years old. And 2 years later, Tunku continued his education at Penang Free School, kat Penang lah. Okay, when he was 16, he received scholarship to further his study at Cambridge, UK, to study law and history, but he failed in his first examination. For the second time, he went to London to read law again at Inner Temple, Cambridge, but this time he managed to graduate. Then he met with Tun Razak when they were in the Malay Society of Great Britain, in which Tunku was the president. So during the Japanese occupation, he served as a district and colony officer in several districts around Kedah, for instance in Langkawi, Kuala Nerang, and Sungai Petani. Tunku was an active member of Seberkas Pena, an intellectual correspondence group that stimulated Malay culture. Tunku even elevated as the president of Seberkas Pena in 1935. In the year 1949, Tunku was appointed as the Deputy Public Prosecutor in Kuala Lumpur. When Datuk Wan Jaafar suddenly announced his second resignation from UMNO during that time to establish Independent Malayan Party (IMP), Tunku was appointed to replace him as the president of UMNO. From the beginning, it was Tun Abdul Razak that has been elected to replace Datuk On, but he was not ready and claiming that he is still lack of experience to rule an organization. In the same time, he acknowledged that Tunku, in his royalty status, was respectable among Malays, and his friendly approach in his relation convinced Tun Razak to persuade Tunku to replace Datuk On. Tunku led UMNO and combined with MCA and MIC in Parti Perikatan to contest in first general election in 1955 and won it by 51 out of 52 by that majority. So he became the first chief minister of Malaya. The biggest achievement in his career was bringing and proclaiming independence to Malaya in 1957 and the establishment of Federation of Malaysia in 1963. So, the independence and formation of Persekutuan Tanah Melayu, the formation of Persekutuan Tanah Melayu dwarfed the attempt to create Malayan Union by British. Persekutuan Tanah Melayu ensured that the roles and survivors of Malay ruler in social and politics. It also guaranteed Malay special right in their constitution. So, personalities of Tunku Abdul Rahman, he was an Anglophile, but empathy to Kampung folk. So, Anglophile means he adored to Britain and England lah. Basically, Tunku Abdul Rahman is not smart, but he is sincere, and we can say that he was a real leader. He has a fatherly figure, always forgiving and playing down problems. He is easygoing and ultra elite. Tunku Abdul Rahman was known in his Kedah accent. Kiranya he always said, uh, "Jangan risau, tak apa." Okay, he has strong belief in power sharing and the maintenance of status quo. The mean at the right time for the most momentous occasion. He was also persuasive and linguistic skills. So moving to the strategies of national integration policy. So under the national integration policy, they are combining MIC and MCA with UMNO under the Parti Perikatan to ensure that the racial harmony and national unity. They want to promote national unity through sport. For example, they introduced Merdeka football tournament and national badminton squad. Other than that, they started the annual celebration of National Merdeka Day, as well as combating the communist insurgencies. So there are several challenges that faced by Tunku Abdul Rahman during his premiership, which is the first one is interracial cooperation. So basically, Tunku gains the independence through a multiracial cooperation. Tunku, through UMNO, managed to form an interracial cooperation, although it was criticized because Tunku compromising the Malay rights by seeking more non-Malay support, especially in the issue of alliance partners, were not endorsing Malay as national language and their demand of seats allocation in favor of Malays by 90%, although Malays only made up of 50% of the population was rejected. The leadership style of Tunku that felt his role as a leader was better served in maintaining the difficult job of holding together the racial bonds of the alliance. The status quo criticized heavily by the ultras that accused Tunku as weak and controlled by the Chinese. Other than that, liberal liberalization in Tunku's leadership style was brought to economic fields. In this case, Tunku opens all economic opportunities only to the non-Malays, especially Chinese and British. This was also criticized, especially the young Malay intellects such as Dr. Mahathir and Musa Hitam. Despite challenges, Perikatan, currently Barisan Nasional, established consensus and cooperation among races in Malaysia. Perikatan, which was formed by Tunku, shows that the existence of Malaysia and her progress is determined by the ability of each community to cooperate in harmony. Politically, consociationalism by Prikatan clearly set as an example that it is the best recipe for political success in Malaysia. At present, even opposition parties are practicing and copying the same formula for formation of Pakatan Rakyat by opposition parties that each represent certain communities. The second challenges faced by Tunku Abdul Rahman is unstable political hegemony and weak economic position. According to Milton J. Esmond, the political bargain realized great benefit for all parties, in many cases, more than the original participants had expected to achieve. The Malays gained political independence, control of government, and a polity which was to be Malay in style and its system of symbols. In return, the Chinese gained more than overseas Chinese in Southeast Asia had dreamed of equal citizenship, political participation, and office holding, unimpaired economic opportunity, and tolerance for their language, religion, and cultural institution. So, the package deal of the 1957 constitutional contract, the first one for the non-Malays, they are given liberal citizenship regulation. For the Malay will be given special right in various aspects such as language, religion, and the status of Malay rulers. The third one is the practice of proportionate, which is quota system in education of government sector, especially in administrative and diplomatic affairs, permits and licenses, scholarship and training, loans, subsidies, and others. The third challenges faced by Tunku Rahman was the communist threats. So during that time, eh, when the communists give threats to Malaya, in Emergency Law 1948 was being implemented. So the connection between Malayan Communist Party and Labour Party. So in 1968, the Labour Party boycott 1969 election due to the one of the Labour Party activists was being shot. So the most popular one is the 13 May racial riot. So most of the scholars view that the riot happened because of high expectation, high frustration. The Malay dissatisfaction over non-implementation of long-standing policies such as language, education, economy, although it is guaranteed by the Malay special right. The non-Malay want to be treated equally as citizens of nation by provocation of Malay-sensitive challenge by Malay sensitive by challenging their special right and privilege stated in Article 153, the Constitution of Malaysia. So in reality, this growing sense of insecurity felt by both ethnic groups caused by the racial imbalance in economic aspect. So there are several actions proposed by the Emergency Operation Council led by Tunku Abdul Rahman in combating the communist insurgencies. The first one is declaring emergency through Act of Emergency 1948, the introduction of identity card, the implementation of food ration, the introduction of white and black areas, opening new village which is Kampung Baru for the communist supporters, the expansion of the armed force, and they are granting citizenship to immigrant. The fifth challenges faced by Tunku Abdul Rahman is the idea of Malaysia itself. So basically, the idea of Malaysia was the combination of the formation that merged Malaya, Singapore, North Borneo, Brunei, and Sarawak. The reason is the inclusion of Borneo is we want to balance the Chinese factor. The second one, the need of Singapore to be free from communist threats. The third one is the acceleration process of decolonization by the British. The fourth one is it expands Bumiputra concept that includes native of Sabah and Sarawak. The expansion of Bumiputra concept is useful to protect Malay political leadership in Malaysia. The Malay political leadership in Malaysia is important to maintain stability because during that time and current time also Malay has the largest population. The last one is The formation will stabilize proportion the racial population. Political challenge faced by Tunku Abdul Rahman during the formation of Malaysia. The first one, we are facing cold relationship with the Philippines over North Borneo, which is Sabah, as part of Sulu Sultanate that belonged to the Philippines. Indonesia confrontation over the ideal, the separation of Singapore from Federation of Malaysia, nationalist movement in Sarawak, opposition from the North Borneo political parties. The international relation challenge specifically regarding the formation of the Federation of Malaysia 1963. Okay, Tunku and economic policy. So basically, Tunku has no agenda on its ability to deliver on promises of economic growth, jobs opportunities, development planning, etc. His main agenda is gaining freedom. We can say that bila Tunku Abdul Rahman achieve independence, then the job is done. Most of the time, Tunku left the economic planning to Tun Abdul Razak. There are people saying that during that time, Tunku prefer to play golf and enjoy the evening and left anything else such as planning, administration to Tun Abdul Razak. So the Malaysian economy was similarly afflicted with unsettling conditions from post-colonial economy. So, what are the characteristics of Malaysian economy and steps taken by Tunku to promote economic growth? The first one, captive, captive market. So the British control with all Malaysian raw material export, landed and re-exported to Malaya as finished product. The second one is manufacturing, confined to latex processing, cooking oil, and tin smelting. The third one is rural agriculture sector, expanding education program, uh, rice cultivation, the creation of farma. Farma is lembaga pemasaran pertanian persekutuan as a cooperative to help farmers to sell and market their agriculture product. The fourth one is investment. He introduced subsidies and tax relief. The Pioneer Industrial Ordinance (PIO) 1958 to provide incentive and tariff protection for the development of manufacturing industries. The Malaysian Industrial Development Finance (MIDF) established in 1960 to finance industrial ventures. Implementation of policies such as maximum entrepreneurial freedom and non-interventionist by the government. The fifth one is revitalize RIDA to MARA to accelerate growth in Bumiputra enterprises. So the economic achievement during his premiership, the first one, the growth rate achieved 5%. 1960s, during that time, the private sector investment rated 7.3%, while in manufacturing rated 10.2%. So for the manufacturing component of GDP, it increased from 8.5% in 1960 to 13% in 1970s. So Tunku opted for democracy and free market. He laid the foundation of ever-present political and economic system which is proven suitable for Malaysia. Presently, Malaysians enjoy multi-party system and good economic growth. So, for Tunku and education policy, the history of Malaysians education. So, before independence, education in Malaysia had separate system of education based on ethnic line. in which in medium instruction, curriculum, and others. The British were not prepared to provide a single education system as they want to maintain status quo in controlling the multiracial society. While after independence, the government come up with the idea of national education system, which is the idea was developed through Razak Report in 1956, whereby Razak reports have the objective to establish a national education system that would promote the cultural, social, economic, and political development accepted by the nation as a whole, and having regard that the Malay language would be the national language. The second one is Rahman Talib's reports in 1960. In this report, education should be the medium to speed up the process of national integration and racial unity. It was made by a new special committee to review the education policy in 1960 and become a basis to the Education Act 1961. The Act provided the legal basis for enabling national language to be a compulsory subject in primary and secondary school and in all training institutions. The third one is National Education Policy 1967. The introduction of new expansion in all sectors in education by changing over of the vernacular system of school into a single system that use Bahasa Malaysia and the introduction of national school. So we will look into Tunku and foreign policy. Under the leadership of Tunku, Malaysia pursue a strong emphasis on foreign policy and good foreign relationship. Malaysia under Tunku was active in the opposition to apartheid that saw South Africa quit the Commonwealth in 1961. Tunku also was founding members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is ASEAN, in 1967, and the organization of OIC in 1969, in which Tunku was the first Secretary General in 1971. But for Tunku and Islamic affairs, there are several Islamic institution development implemented during his premiership, which is Islam as the religion of federation. We can see in Article 3 of Federal Constitution, the establishment of Masjid Negara, the annual International Quran recitation, Tilawat Quran, the establishment of OIC, as well as the establishment of Perkin. So for further readings, you can see these four references lah. If you have any other question regarding this topic, you can always contact me in Island, or you can contact me with by WhatsApp me lah. Okay, I think that's all for today. I hope you can understand and thank you.